the thing that is interesting to me about the hero's journey, and it's kind of a critique as well, is that number one, everybody brings their own thing to it. Number two, it really was the product of Joseph Campbell's mind, who was like this renowned kind of mythologist, but sort of a cultural anthropologist, just really loved this wide stream of mythology. But it is also heavily influenced by like the French, by the French chivalric romances of like the 14th century, the 15th century, which then went on to influence like the English, Morte d'Arthur and Mallory. It was a really interesting class that I took in college. But anyway, very influenced by sort of Grail quests and sort of Western European ideas of these different stories of people who had gone and done stuff. So they leave out this whole other swath of myths that and cultures that may influence the pattern in different ways, right? And then somewhat interestingly, alongside or parallel to this like hero's journey cycle, is this concept of culture hero, which is basically kind of in one way adding a thing where there is a real life, a more modern real life analog, sometimes to the hero themselves, but sometimes also just means like, oh, all the other people, like all the other heroes from all the other societies. So being aware of the fact that like the Greek hero stories that we read, or a couple of the other ones, that those are actually also culture heroes to their culture, you know, that there isn't a real hero and then a side, well, not as important group of culture heroes. So I feel like kind of the whole mythology field, when you get above the level of like high school English teachers, is like just in the middle of kind of figuring out like, oh, wait, these are all kind of, there's a larger spectrum. So anyway, but be that as it may, so kind of broadening the thing. Oh, and the other thing about the culture hero is the way that the hero's journey cycle has really moved to like a cycle of self-discovery and kind of self-knowledge, which, because it's based on Carl Jung, close personal friend of Freud, but less obsessed with certain things, that it really has more of a basis in like the collective unconscious and universal human experiences. The culture hero kind of like turns that mirror back to say, how does the hero reflect our culture, or like what does the influence, what facet of this particular society does this story of this hero right here, whatever, tell. So on to the Powhatan part, which was super dorky because I made it and I love, hi Ian and other people that have joined, sorry. So the little Powhatan was like, well, there are often things about a culture hero. And basically, besides like having these wonderful stories with a bunch of different things, sort of the achievements of a culture hero fall into like gaining wisdom for the eventual group of people who lived on Earth. It's sometimes associated with like sort of the first generation of real life people. And so the culture hero is mostly human, but still better than ordinary human-y sort of people. So the Theseuses, the Perseuses, definitely the Herculeses, they're of the people, but then still doing a thing. Okay, so a culture hero will sometimes, sorry, I'm getting distracted by the fact that my dog is protesting. No, he's barking at, I don't know. Okay, it's not your problem, sorry. Okay, culture hero will obtain sometimes wisdom for people. It may be in a really important achievement or accomplishment that makes the lives of people better. Defending a particular local foe, and sometimes in the process, according to one thing I read, like discover the reason for people dying, or like somehow ameliorating the thing of people dying. I don't know how much I buy with that last one. So they bring a piece of necessary information or resource to a hero. I'm gonna have you look at for just this first day on these two different stories. One are from the Maya, and they're the hero twins, and they're right on that line between like the part of the creation myth and yet like very rooted in the body and reality. And then the other one is the most likely 86% likely true historical account of Mulan, but like how that story actually has a couple of different facets and has been gone through a couple of different treatments, and so like where does that reality sort of lie? So okay, so come on, buddy. All right, so here we go. Reading the Mayan twins myth, this should bring you to a cute little PDF that is gonna look like, well, no, I'm saving it. I already have it. Sorry. Okay. Let's just pretend that it is gonna go here, right? And then I'll open it up so you can see. Now, there are multiple versions of the Maya twins myth. And full disclosure, like I found this on the most reputable website that I could. So it's great. I also want you to read the story. The reason that I bring up the full disclosure thing is that I know that your time is precioso. And so I don't want to like invite you to like lower your own standards for yourself. I do want you to read the story so that we can talk about some cool things in the story on Friday. So if you find a reputable version that that you would prefer to read, that's fine with me. Part two, and the reason that I kind of say that is, this is the other cool thing that I want you to do. This is a wonderful both telling of and analysis of. Okay, so here's the irritating thing about that. It was really hard for me to get to the right, or it's hard to link exactly to this episode of this. So I wanted to send people to mythsandlegends.com, but unfortunately, the way to get to it here is via this one. However, if you want to support their own little this, you can also listen to it off of their thing, and then we get to, oh geez, this is even worse. If you just search Mulan, it should come up, because it was like a very early episode. Oh, you liars. Okay. Hey, oh no, not the transcript. Why don't you listen to it? So you could find it. Yeah, you can find it there as well. So it's really interesting because it does, it like gives you the actual, I feel like she's much more much more compelling, and there are a lot of facets to the actual folk story, culture hero. Like she's more recognizable as a hero with the other heroes that we've read, in the same way that like the Mayan twins, the things that they accomplish, what they do, and influencing kind of the world then the culture lives in, being there. And the other purpose of culture hero, okay, right, you're right. Yeah, is that like, again, the tune being keyed to like the key signature of the culture. That if instead of looking at the hero's journey, or through the hero's journey lens to say, what does this hero tell us about like the universal human struggle? It is looking through a culture hero lens, like what what does this person reflect about the things that this culture, A, depend on because of the reality of its life, B, really value, sorry, the reality of its life, but like the conditions in which they were shaped as a culture. The values that this particular culture really holds dear, because that will be reflected in the hero when you look at it from a culture hero perspective. Like I enjoy kind of course, turning the lens back on the Estados Unidos, United States of America, and like at different times, who have been sort of cultural hero figures, and then saying, well, what does that say about what the people at the time really valued and so lifted in these in various times. Okay, so that was a little bit repeaty. I apologize for that. But those are your Littell assignments. I want you to listen to
This is the Myths and Legends podcast, episode 4, A Likely Hero.
Now, also, again, good steward of your time. I listen to everything in like 1.25, so I have no problem if you, I think it becomes relatively unintelligible at like 3 times the speed or 2 times the speed. 1.5, this guy is not a slow speaker, so you don't need to worry about it. But anyway, that's also fine with me as well. But that's what I would like for you to do. Does that sound good? Sorry that this is not like a super interactive one.